A single step can change everything. Around the world, there are staircases so steep, so exposed, and so dangerous that climbing them feels like a test of courage as much as endurance. From ancient stone paths carved into vertical cliffs to towering stairways that disappear into the clouds, these incredible structures push human limits to the extreme. Today, we're counting down the 15 scariest stairs on Earth. Let's begin. Number 15, El Peñón de Guatapé, Colombia. Imagine standing in the middle of Colombia's green countryside and seeing a giant stone tower rising hundreds of feet into the sky. That incredible formation is El Peñón de Guatapé, a massive granite monolith located about 2 hours east of Medellin. Towering approximately 650 feet above the surrounding landscape, this enormous rock has dominated the region for centuries. For generations, local communities viewed the rock as a sacred place. Few people believed it could ever be climbed. That changed in 1954 when 3 determined adventurers spent 5 exhausting days scaling its nearly vertical face using wooden stakes driven into a natural crack in the stone. But climbing the rock wasn't enough. Eventually, someone came up with an even more ambitious idea: building a staircase directly into the mountain. Today, visitors can ascend 740 steep steps that zigzag through a narrow fissure in the rock. Constructed from brick and concrete, the staircase appears from a distance like a giant scar running up the side of the monolith. Up close, it feels almost unreal, like something designed for an adventure video game rather than real life. The climb typically takes around 30 minutes. Every step becomes steeper, and every glance downward reminds you just how high above the ground you are. Yet the reward is spectacular. At the summit, travelers are treated to one of the most breathtaking views in South America. Lakes, islands, green hills, and winding waterways stretch endlessly toward the horizon. A viewing platform, snack vendors, and an observation tower await at the top. However, the real challenge begins on the way down. Your legs quickly discover that descending hundreds of steep steps can be even more exhausting than climbing them. By the time you reach the bottom, you'll understand why this staircase is one of the most intimidating in the world. Number 14, Chand Baori Stepwell, India. Most staircases are designed to take people upward. Chand Baori does exactly the opposite. Located in the village of Abaneri in Rajasthan, India, this astonishing structure descends 13 stories into the earth. Built more than 1,200 years ago during the reign of King Chanda, Chand Baori remains one of the deepest and most visually stunning stepwells ever created. At first glance, it looks less like architecture and more like an optical illusion. Nearly 3,500 perfectly aligned stone steps form an intricate geometric pattern that seems to fold endlessly into itself. Looking down from the rim can leave visitors feeling dizzy as rows upon rows of staircases converge toward a pool of green water far below. The well was originally designed as a practical solution to Rajasthan's harsh climate. Water is precious in this arid region, and stepwells allowed communities to access groundwater even during severe droughts. Yet Chand Baori became far more than a simple water source. Its staircases create a gigantic inverted pyramid of stone. Every level mirrors the one above it with astonishing precision. The narrow steps are steep, uneven, and completely lacking modern safety features. Walking them today requires extreme caution. The temperature at the bottom remains several degrees cooler than the surface, making the stepwell a welcome refuge from Rajasthan's scorching heat. For centuries, it served as both a gathering place and an engineering masterpiece. Modern visitors may recognize the site from films and documentaries, including appearances in major Hollywood productions. While descending the stairs is technically possible, authorities discourage it due to the age of the structure and the obvious danger posed by the ancient stonework. A single misstep here wouldn't end in water, it would end on solid stone. Number 13, Pailón del Diablo, Ecuador. Deep within Ecuador's cloud forests lies one of South America's most dramatic waterfalls. Known as Pailón del Diablo, or the Devil's Cauldron, this natural wonder attracts thousands of visitors every year. The Pastaza River plunges roughly 260 feet through a narrow gorge, creating an explosion of mist, noise, and raw power. Standing nearby is like standing next to a jet engine made entirely of water. Clinging to the cliffside beside the falls is a network of staircases unlike anything else on Earth. Rather than one continuous staircase, visitors encounter a maze of stone steps, metal walkways, narrow tunnels, and suspension bridges. Some sections pass directly behind the waterfall itself, placing travelers inside caves where torrents of water crash just feet away. The experience is unforgettable and terrifying. Every surface is constantly wet. The rocks are slick, the air is saturated with mist, and the roar of the waterfall is deafening. In certain areas, handrails provide little more than psychological reassurance. Elsewhere, chains bolted into the rock serve as your only support. As the path descends, visitors eventually reach viewing platforms near the base of the falls. Here, the full force of the Devil's Cauldron reveals itself. White water explodes into a boiling cloud of foam and spray, creating one of the most powerful natural spectacles in Ecuador. The climb back up is physically exhausting. By the time visitors return to the top, they are usually soaked, breathless, and grinning from the thrill of surviving the journey. What makes these stairs so frightening isn't their height. It's the constant presence of water. Every step feels like a challenge against nature itself, with slippery stone beneath your feet and a roaring waterfall surrounding you from every direction. Number 12, Skellig Michael, Ireland. 7 miles off Ireland's rugged southwestern coast rises a rocky island that seems more suited to mythology than reality. This island is Skellig Michael. Emerging dramatically from the Atlantic Ocean, the island reaches more than 700 feet above sea level and houses one of the most isolated monasteries ever built. Christian monks settled here nearly 1,400 years ago, creating a community on a windswept rock surrounded by some of the roughest seas in Europe. Reaching the monastery requires climbing 618 ancient stone steps. These aren't modern stairs. They were hand-built by monks centuries before the invention of modern construction equipment. The stones were carefully fitted together without mortar and have remained exposed to Atlantic storms for over a millennium. The climb begins after a challenging boat ride across open ocean. Once ashore, visitors start ascending increasingly steep pathways toward the monastery. As the elevation increases, so does the danger. Most sections lack railings. Strong ocean winds regularly batter the island, and steep drops fall hundreds of feet directly into the Atlantic below. Looking down can be enough to make even experienced hikers feel uneasy. Yet the scenery is extraordinary. Puffins, gannets, and seabirds soar at eye level while waves crash against cliffs far beneath your feet. Every step feels like a journey back through history. At the summit sits a remarkable monastic settlement consisting of stone huts, ancient walls, and small religious structures. It is one of the most atmospheric locations in Europe and gained worldwide fame after appearing as the planet AHCH2 in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. For those brave enough to climb its ancient staircase, Skellig Michael offers an unforgettable combination of history, beauty, and fear. Number 11, Wat Tham Sua, Tiger Cave Temple, Thailand. In southern Thailand, surrounded by dense jungle and tropical heat, stands one of the country's most challenging stair climbs. Known as Wat Tham Sua, or the Tiger Cave Temple, this sacred site attracts visitors from around the world. However, the temple itself is only the beginning of the journey. The true destination lies at the summit of a limestone cliff high above the jungle. Reaching it requires climbing an astonishing 1,260 steps. Unlike many mountain staircases that gradually wind upward, these stairs attack the cliff almost directly. The climb is relentless. There are very few opportunities to rest, and the gradient remains punishing from start to finish. The tropical climate makes the challenge even harder. Within minutes, most climbers are drenched in sweat. Humidity hangs heavily in the air, turning every step into a battle against exhaustion. Long-tailed macaques often sit along the lower sections of the staircase, calmly observing struggling visitors as they make their way upward. For the monkeys, scaling the mountain is effortless. For humans, it can feel nearly impossible. As elevation increases, the rewards begin to appear. The jungle canopy falls away, revealing spectacular views of Thailand's limestone formations, mangrove forests, and distant coastline. Eventually, after what feels like an endless climb, visitors reach the summit. A massive golden Buddha overlooks the landscape below, radiating calm and serenity despite the suffering required to reach it. The panoramic views stretch in every direction, making the exhausting journey worthwhile. The descent, however, introduces a new challenge. Steep concrete steps combined with tropical humidity create slippery conditions that demand constant attention. Even after reaching the bottom, your legs will continue reminding you of those 1,260 steps for days afterward. Number 10. The 999 Steps to Heaven's Gate, China. High above the forests of China's Tianmen Mountain sits one of the most famous natural formations in Asia. Known as Heaven's Gate, this gigantic archway cuts directly through the mountain itself, creating an opening that appears almost supernatural when surrounded by clouds. The arch stands roughly 430 feet tall and nearly 190 feet wide. Reaching it, however, requires conquering one of the most intimidating staircases on Earth. A staircase of exactly 999 steps rises from the plaza below to the entrance of the cave. In Chinese culture, the number 9 symbolizes eternity and heavenly power. Building 999 steps to Heaven's Gate was no accident. It was intended to represent a spiritual journey toward the heavens. From the bottom, the staircase looks endless. It climbs in a perfectly straight line toward the massive opening above, disappearing into mist and clouds. The climb takes most visitors between 30 and 45 minutes, but the physical effort feels much longer. There is little shade. During summer, the stone steps radiate heat. During winter, ice can transform the staircase into a dangerous obstacle course. Every step pushes visitors higher toward the mountain's famous arch. By the time they arrive at the top, aching muscles and burning lungs are quickly forgotten as they stand inside one of China's most remarkable natural wonders. Looking back down the staircase from Heaven's Gate creates an unforgettable sight. 999 steps stretching downward toward the valley floor far below. Number 9. Sigiriya, Sri Lanka. Rising dramatically from Sri Lanka's central plains is a towering rock fortress known as Sigiriya, or Lion Rock. This enormous volcanic formation stands approximately 660 feet above the surrounding landscape. During the 5th century, King Kashyapa transformed its summit into one of the most luxurious royal palaces in the ancient world. The only way to reach that summit is by climbing roughly 1,200 steps. The journey begins gently enough. Visitors walk through beautifully designed gardens, ancient water systems, and remnants of defensive walls that once protected the royal complex. As the climb continues, the atmosphere changes. Ancient frescoes painted more than 1,500 years ago decorate sections of the cliff face. Nearby stands the famous mirror wall, where travelers have been leaving inscriptions for over 1,000 years. Higher still, the staircase becomes increasingly exposed. Metal walkways cling to the side of the rock while the ground falls away hundreds of feet below. The most iconic section is Lion Gate. Here, 2 gigantic stone lion paws flank the staircase. These paws are all that remain of a colossal lion sculpture that once guarded the entrance to the palace. Beyond them lies the final ascent. The summit reveals the remains of Kashyapa's kingdom, foundations, gardens, reservoirs, and palace ruins spread across the flat mountaintop. The view extends for miles in every direction, offering one of the most spectacular panoramas in Sri Lanka. Yet throughout the climb, visitors never forget the reason this fortress was built here in the first place. Because it was incredibly difficult to reach. Number 8. Jacob's Ladder, Street. Helena. On the remote South Atlantic island of St. Helena sits a staircase so brutally direct that it almost seems absurd. Known as Jacob's Ladder, it climbs 699 steps from the center of Jamestown to the top of Ladder Hill, more than 600 feet above sea level. Unlike most staircases, this one refuses to take the easy route. There are no switchbacks, no curves, no gentle slopes. It simply shoots straight upward. Originally constructed in 1829 as part of an inclined railway system, the structure was later converted into a staircase after the railway ceased operation. Standing at the bottom, the steps appear almost vertical. The staircase forms a straight line from town to summit, creating a challenge that attracts athletes, sailors, and adventurous tourists from around the world. The climb is relentless. As the angle steepens, some steps feel almost chest-high. Many visitors begin confidently, only to find themselves gasping for breath halfway up. At the summit, however, the reward is extraordinary. Jamestown spreads out below like a miniature model town. Beyond it lies the endless South Atlantic Ocean. With no major landmass nearby, the feeling of isolation is profound. Then comes the realization that every one of those 699 steps must eventually be descended. Number 7. Florley Stairs, Norway. Norway is famous for dramatic landscapes, towering mountains, and deep fjords. Hidden among them is the longest wooden staircase in the world. The Florley Stairs contain an astonishing 4,444 steps. Built alongside a hydroelectric pipeline, the staircase climbs from sea level near Lysfjord to a mountain plateau nearly 2,400 feet above. Most hikers require 2 to 3 hours to reach the top. Unlike many famous staircases, Florley's challenge isn't extreme exposure or terrifying drops. Its true weapon is endurance. The stairs seem endless. Step after step stretches upward without mercy. There are very few opportunities to rest, and the constant gradient slowly drains energy from even experienced hikers. Rain often makes the wooden steps slippery, adding another layer of difficulty. By the time climbers finally reach the summit, they have completed a staircase nearly 3 times longer than the one inside the Empire State Building. The reward is classic Norway: vast wilderness, crystal clear lakes, rocky plateaus, and complete silence. Most hikers sit quietly at the top, appreciating the view while mentally preparing for the equally long descent. Number 6. Nissen Stairway, Switzerland. If the Florley Stairs seem long, Switzerland's Nissen Stairway takes things to another level entirely. This staircase contains a staggering 11,674 steps. Running alongside the Nissen funicular railway, the stairway climbs more than 5,400 vertical feet up a mountain known as the Swiss Pyramid. The staircase is generally closed to the public. Only once a year does it open for a special race known as the Nissenlauf. Participants attempt to run all 11,674 steps from the base to the summit. Just imagining the challenge is exhausting. The climb gains nearly a mile in elevation and follows the same steep angle as the railway tracks. Unlike hiking trails that offer switchbacks and flatter sections, the stairway rises continuously toward the sky. Those who reach the summit are rewarded with incredible views of the Bernese Alps, alpine lakes, and snow-covered peaks stretching across the horizon. Whether or not it is the scariest staircase on Earth is debatable. But standing at the bottom and looking up at almost 12,000 disappearing steps is enough to intimidate anyone. Number 5. Huayna Picchu, Peru. Towering behind Machu Picchu is a mountain that appears in nearly every famous photograph of the ancient Inca city. That mountain is Huayna Picchu. Few visitors realize that they can actually climb it. More importantly, few realize how frightening that climb can be. The Incas carved stone staircases into the mountainside more than 500 years ago. Those same stairs remain in use today. The route is steep, narrow, and often slippery from rain. Thousands of feet below, the Urubamba River winds through the valley. The most notorious section is known as the Stairs of Death. Here, ancient stone steps rise almost vertically along a narrow ridge. Climbers frequently use both hands and feet to maintain balance while navigating the exposed route. Yet the summit delivers one of the greatest views in South America. From above, Machu Picchu appears like a miniature stone city resting among the clouds. Every temple, terrace, and plaza becomes visible from an entirely new perspective. The beauty is unforgettable, so is the climb required to reach it. Number 4. Adam's Peak, Sri Lanka. For more than 1,000 years, pilgrims have climbed Adam's Peak in search of something sacred. At the summit sits a mysterious depression in the rock known as the Sacred Footprint. Different religions attribute it to different figures, but all agree on one thing. Reaching it is difficult. The journey involves climbing approximately 5,500 steps. Most pilgrims begin around 2 o'clock in the morning, ascending through darkness in hopes of reaching the summit before sunrise. Throughout the night, thousands of lights wind up the mountainside, creating one of Sri Lanka's most beautiful sights. As dawn approaches, the final sections become crowded and steep. Exhausted climbers eventually reach the summit just as sunlight begins illuminating the horizon. Then something remarkable happens. Adam's Peak casts a perfectly triangular shadow across the landscape below. The phenomenon lasts only briefly but creates one of the most magical sunrise experiences in Asia. Every year, countless pilgrims make the climb. And every year, the mountain tests them one step at a time. Number 3. The Manitou Incline, Colorado, USA. At the base of the famous Pikes Peak in Colorado lies a staircase that has become legendary among hikers, athletes, and fitness enthusiasts. Known as the Manitou Incline, this brutal climb rises nearly 2,000 feet in less than a mile, making it one of the steepest and most physically demanding staircases in North America. What makes the incline unique is its origin. It wasn't built as a tourist attraction. In the early 1900s, a railway line was constructed along the mountainside to help transport materials for water pipelines. Decades later, after a rockslide damaged the railway, the tracks were removed, leaving behind hundreds of wooden railroad ties embedded in the slope. Those abandoned ties eventually became stairs. Today, the incline consists of roughly 2,700 railroad tie steps climbing straight up the mountain. There are no switchbacks, no scenic detours, and almost no relief from the relentless gradient. In some sections, the slope becomes so steep that each step feels more like climbing a ladder than walking upstairs. The higher you climb, the thinner the air becomes. Starting at over 6,000 feet above sea level and ending near 8,500 feet, the incline challenges both your muscles and your lungs. Many people arrive believing they are in excellent shape. Halfway up, they often reconsider that opinion. The view from the summit is magnificent. The city of Colorado Springs spreads across the plains below, while mountains stretch endlessly into the distance. Yet perhaps the most memorable moment comes when climbers look back down and realize just how steep the route truly was. It's the kind of staircase that makes you question your decisions while you're climbing it, and brag about it afterward. Number 2. The Heavenly Stairs of Mount Huashan, China. For over 2,000 years, Mount Huashan has been considered one of China's most sacred mountains. Pilgrims, monks, and travelers have climbed its slopes in search of spiritual enlightenment, breathtaking scenery, and personal challenge. But hidden among its cliffs lies a staircase that many people consider the most terrifying on Earth. The Heavenly Stairs. Unlike traditional staircases, these steps are carved directly into a near-vertical granite wall. In some places, the angle approaches 90 degrees, transforming the climb into something closer to mountaineering than hiking. The staircase consists of roughly 300 stone steps, many of them worn smooth by centuries of use. Some are barely wide enough for a single foot. Iron chains bolted into the rock serve as the only reliable support. Climbers grip them tightly while slowly working their way upward. Looking down is almost impossible because doing so means leaning away from the mountain face, a movement most survival instincts strongly discourage. Every step demands concentration. The granite wall presses against your face. Your hands cling to cold metal chains. Your feet search for narrow footholds while thousands of feet of open air stretch beneath you. There are no shortcuts, no elevators, no comfortable alternatives, just stone, chains, gravity, and courage. Yet despite the danger, millions of visitors travel to Mount Huashan every year. Those who reach the top are rewarded with sweeping views of distant valleys, mountain peaks, and ancient landscapes that seem unchanged for centuries. The Heavenly Stairs ask a simple but terrifying question. Do you trust the next step? Number 1. Haiku Stairs, Hawaii. Some staircases are famous because of their height, others because of their beauty. The Haiku Stairs became legendary because they were both. Located on the Hawaiian island of Oahu, the Haiku Stairs climbed 3,922 steps through dense tropical forests and along razor-thin mountain ridges to a summit more than 2,500 feet above sea level. Officially known as the Stairway to Heaven, the route was originally built by the U.S. Navy in 1942. During World War II, military personnel used the stairs to reach a secret radio transmission station hidden high above the Haiku Valley. The original wooden ladders were eventually replaced with steel staircases and railings, creating one of the most spectacular and dangerous routes anywhere in the world. The climb began in lush rainforest before ascending onto increasingly narrow ridgelines. In some locations, clouds drifted beneath your feet while steep valleys plunged away on both sides. Visibility could disappear within minutes as fog rolled across the mountains. Strong winds frequently battered the upper sections of the staircase. Wet metal steps became dangerously slippery, and even experienced hikers needed complete concentration. Despite being officially closed for decades, the Haiku Stairs became one of the most famous illegal hikes on Earth. Thousands of adventurers ignored warnings, bypassed security, and climbed the route in search of the breathtaking views made famous through photographs and social media. The images were extraordinary: emerald green mountains, rolling clouds, endless Pacific Ocean vistas, a staircase seemingly suspended between earth and sky. But the story came to an end. In 2022, officials approved plans to permanently remove the Haiku stairs due to safety concerns, trespassing issues, and maintenance challenges. The dismantling process began in 2024, and the legendary staircase was gradually removed from the mountain. Today, the stairway to heaven exists mostly in photographs, videos, and memories. That is what makes it number one. Not because it was the tallest, not because it was the steepest, but because it became one of the most iconic staircases ever built, and one that future generations will never have the chance to climb.